Welcome to the Transmission Coaching Podcast powered by ATRA. It's a great day to fix transmissions. I'm your host, Lance Wiggins, and today's show is sponsored by Gears Magazine, your magazine for the transmission industry. Today's topic is on training, and with me today is my co-host, Vanessa Velasquez, the ATRA Events Director.
Hello again.
I know. Exciting, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I know that you know this, and some people in our industry know this, that I coach high school football. And also high school baseball. One of the passions that I have is just coaching eager players that want to know a little bit more about a particular sport. And I think that transcends into what we do here at ATRA with our training programs that we have. We obviously do seminars all over the place. We do, expo and some other things. But I think one of the keys to making that successful is having shops and employees that want to get into that, into that realm. I mean, you're in class now, right? Like you go to
Yes.
What college?
I do. I attend Cal State University of Northridge. So it's about 40 minutes from here. And I'm currently a senior.
Oh, all right. Graduating.
It feels good to say that. And it's a 5-year plan.
Right.
Yeah, I do work. So I go in the evenings. So it's a little slower than your typical college student. But it's great. And like you were saying about the eagerness, it's important as adults that we realize that eagerness to learn really doesn't end just in high school, like you're saying with high school sports. It really should be always.
Sure.
And as long as you have a career, you should be educating yourself.
That's hard that's both a profound, but also sometimes hard to understand. I mean, like there's a lot of people that are in our industry or people that I know that you add something like, yeah, I really want to do this, but I just don't have the time or whatever. When it comes down to what makes you tick when it comes to something new, like, for me, I love a challenge of new. I hear something, I hear that, this is happening with this vehicle, and technically speaking, that's never supposed to happen. That intrigues me. I want to know more about it.
Well, that's the key, being passionate about something. If you're already passionate about something, having the opportunity to learn more about it really shouldn't come that difficultly. I mean, like for what I'm going to school for, I am taking classes towards a bachelor's degree in hospitality, which that's what I do. And I've been doing for about 10 years. So to some people it's, school. Oh gosh, I don't have time for that. Well, look, I work full time. I've got a family. I've got 2 kids. I could say that as well, but it's something that I'm passionate about. I love doing events. So having the opportunity to learn more about them, it's great, and I feel lucky.
It benefits you in the position you're in. I remember when I was graduating high school, the last thing I wanted to do was go back to school. It was like, okay, see ya, I'm out of here. When I started working for Ford, they started mandating like you had to go to these classes, and if you wanted to do warranty work on new product, new vehicle, you had to go to these classes. So next thing you know, I find myself driving 100 miles to go to these courses and these classes, these 5-day classes. Driving 100 miles there, driving 100 miles back, and in the process of that, learning that, wow, not only is this interesting information, but this is helping me fix cars. Like as the vehicles came in, I already knew about them, and I thought, I heard something that was profound, and I was in the class, and I was completely confused about everything, and I had this baffled look, and Ed Stanek, the course instructor, and so mind you, I'm 23, 24. And I'm confused, and he says, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I'm confused." He goes, "Well, you're about ready to learn something." And I think that, if we use the those adages, like, when you're confused, a lot of people can go, I'm confused, forget it, I'm out of here, or I'm confused, but I want to know more about what I'm dealing with. And I think that's where our process, that's where ATRA's process comes into this, and trying to give our members and our shops and our industry more information, and as much information as possible. Some people may not use it. Sometimes they do. Curiosity, when you are in class and you're sitting there, do you and this question is broad across the board for even our technicians, but you're hearing something for the first time, do you at that point in time go, man, I could apply this to my job? Does that happen a lot?
Yes, I've already had the opportunity to use what I've learned in my evening classes to my daily work here at ATRA. Some of the things that we've changed at our expo, at our seminars, have directly come from, right out of a professor's mouth. So it's a great feeling to be able to try it for yourself and realize that, you can always learn every day.
I heard this also a while back, and it kind of pertained to what I said in the last podcast when we were talking about CVT transmissions. 5 years ago, we had this idea. We saw CVTs were coming out. We could see that CVTs are potentially going to be the future of our market. With the hybrids coming out, and with the fuel mileages and the EPA and everybody forcing manufacturers to go that direction, our process was, we need to get this information out to our shops. And we found that as we gave it to them, that it wasn't received. It was like, man, we're not going to work on those. We're never going to see that. That vehicle, that transmission, that's never going to come here. And now everybody's, oh my gosh, I need this as much. I mean, please come out. Seal Aftermarket Product has got a great deal going where they're going out to different shops and showing them how to build CVTs. WIT, whatever it takes, transmission parts, does the exact same thing. And now the hands-on training has come back to fruition. It's kind of done its full circle around the block. And I heard this saying. It says, you give a poor man a fish and you feed him for a day. You teach him to fish, and you give him an occupation that will feed him for a lifetime. And I think that to me means, look, you have an opportunity here. What are you going to do with that opportunity? I know from Vanessa's perspective and my perspective, every time we do a seminar, you guys do counts, right? And some years are higher and some years are lower. I mean, Minnesota, bless you guys. You just went through this huge spring storm, had 24 inches of snow or something like that. It was on the weekend of our seminar. And normally that seminar will have a couple hundred guys in there, right?
At least 150.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, they didn't get an opportunity to go. And so for those guys that wanted to go without the opportunity, what's the next step? What would we do now to offer them that opportunity? Maybe do a webinar, maybe put it online, maybe do a video or some sort of podcast on there, and give them that information. And I think that for those shops that don't really care about it, they're like, nah, whatever, I'll grab it next year. Maybe their goal isn't to stay on top. Maybe their goal is to maintain.
Well, what was interesting and very, very impressive, when we were receiving phone calls leading up to that seminar, they would call and ask and mention, hey, I'm not sure if you know, but we've got this weather situation. And we were aware. Instead of just canceling or instead of just requesting the refund, most of them were just requesting to be moved to another seminar on another weekend. So that commitment is there. And so that was hey, I'll drive to Chicago as an example. Exactly. So so instead of accepting that refund, which we were prepared to do.
Sure.
They decided, no, I would rather go to Council Bluffs, or you know what, I can just wait for Chicago, and can you please transfer my registration over rather than risk the weather. Yeah, that was great.
That is great. Yeah, and I think that, when you see that from a shop perspective and from the employee, that it brings this sense of pride to them.
It's contagious.
And it is contagious. Mm-hmm. I did some research on, through our What's Working program that even we have to subject ourselves to with Roger and Dennis around. But it was interesting because a lot of shops have like these, 5 or so traits that may have some validity to them. One of them is we focus on the now and not on the what's next. And that's where, hey, we're working on this vehicle. We're working on, 6L80, and I don't need to know about the new Jatco, CVT that's coming out because I'll never see it. And then a year and a half later, you get your first Jatco. Mm-hmm. And
that's the thing, we think about it with technology, this need for the instant gratification.
Yeah.
And so I hear that. And at the same time, that's the thing with learning things. That not everything you learn is going to be immediately used.
Right.
It may be a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now.
It's like stacking folders in the back of your head.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other common thing that we hear, and this is just part of our life, is there's never enough time. Like, I don't have the. You need to drive 80 miles to go to a seminar this weekend. Nope. The races are on. I got to go fishing. The sun's shining. Spring is actually here, and it's not frozen tundra.
Room. Yeah.
It's too windy. It's too rainy. I mean, there's a lot of different things. Plus, a lot of these shops, if they're working 6 days a week, they're tired.
I get it. And like I mentioned, I'm there, right there. Every week I drive down to Los Angeles. It's anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour, and that's after working. And I come home late. There's still other work, homework, things to do at the house, but
dishes.
Yeah.
Dinner, dishes. We have that argument all the time.
So what I'm saying is, everybody has that time excuse, has that time reason.
And I think that's why that's one of the reasons why a lot of the, even the universities went to the online universities. That's why we went to having the ATRA online at the time, or now the Tech Center. Why we went to webinars. That was the whole purpose of that, is to save them time, put them in the perspective to make the decision when they want. When do you want to learn? I want to learn today, tomorrow, the day after. Not on the day you're telling me to. And that's another thing too. Is sometimes you have a guy in the shop. Let's say that you want him to go to the show. You want him to go to get some training, but he's busy that week, and the next guy who's like, hey, I want to go, doesn't get the opportunity. As an employer, it's important to look at the small little signals of somebody that wants to be good, right? Because everybody wants to be good, right?
Yes.
Everybody wants to feel that success of, I've done it, or I know a little bit of something about that. And that's where I think, some of the faults are, is you have a lack of loyalty. And then after a while, your star tech loses its luster. It stops shining. And that's where I was some years ago, we were doing teaching the AC Delco trainers how to train. So I was training the trainers in Burbank. And we offered this class to anybody that was in the Burbank area for free. Any shop that wanted to come from the Burbank area, Los Angeles area, Van Nuys area, for free. You didn't have to pay for anything. We'd pay for your lunch. We'd pay for your breakfast. We'd pay for your gas. You just need to show up. Not one person showed up. And a couple of the excuses that we had was, I don't want my guy to get any smarter than he already is.
I've heard that. That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
Don't get smart, man, whatever you do.
Yeah.
So I think there's been a little bit of a culture change though since then.
Yeah.
We have newer shops coming to our programs, to our shows. We have newer shops and other non-ATRA shops that have recognized what we've been doing with regards to the webinars. And I think these shops are asking themselves, what's next? Mm-hmm. What better time than now is there to go to this show? Talking to their employees about what the do's and the don'ts and what they want, what they need. We sit in meetings all the time. We're like, do we need this or do we want this, right? Mm-hmm, There's a difference between the two. Staying engaged. And then, of course, talented people want to be in the light, provided the stage and audience for them to shine. So it's important to put them on that platform.
Exactly. If you invest in your technician, that technician is going to invest in your business. They feel appreciated. It's going to show.
So are you saying then that the guy that was in Burbank said he's going to get too smart? That guy's probably not still with him, right? You would think?
I hope he's not.
Yeah, right.
Just put it that way.
So I wanted to before we close down here, I wanted to list all of the things that we offer as an option to get information from ATRA. How many, because the number of seminars throughout the country changes. I know that we have a couple that we're doing. We have one that we're doing internationally in Australia this year, or New Zealand, I'm sorry. But outside of that, how many do we do in the States, including Canada, I should say?
Mm-hmm. We have 27 technical seminars every year. So, minus about a month off for summer. And
we actually get a vacation? This is great.
Don't tell anybody.
I won't.
And the various holiday weekends. We have one almost every weekend, and some we've got two every weekend. And I know you love that with your speaker schedule.
No, I don't. So we've got 27, roughly 27 seminars. Mm-hmm. We have our annual expo that we do in Las Vegas. That's normally in October, unless we're in another location, then it's in September.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm. And that's 4 days of that. Mm-hmm. You got 10 months of gears. Mm-hmm. So we've gone to 10 issues. We have our webinars. We've got over 116 webinars that are online now. Mm-hmm. We have a new system coming up that will be soft launched in July and 100% launched by Expo. We've done a couple of podcasts. We've got our bulletins, our rebuild books, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Now, those social platforms, Facebook we use quite often. We've got how many, 1,700 followers or something like that?
Actually, I think I saw the ATRA Facebook. I want to say it was about 5,000. I just saw it the other day, and I was a little surprised. Was pleasantly surprised.
Well, I know that our first podcast, when we launched it and put it onto the Facebook account last week, I think after the weekend we had almost 1,000 views, so that was awesome. Pretty cool. Yeah, so that made us happy. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, right. So we have our hotline. Networking also is a big key, and I think the networking happens in live events more than anything. It's important that during the breaks, we have an option for everybody to kind of gather together at the coffee break and talk a little bit about, whatever it may be, whether or not business is good in their area and not so much in yours, or so on and so forth.
You could definitely learn just as much from each other.
Yeah, that's true. Email blasts, advertising, of course, sponsorships, and also any type of specialty training, which I think, Roger was just at the TCRA convention that was in Florida. They went to Florida Torque Converters, gave a presentation down there. Peter Fink from Certified was there and has offered to have Roger come down to his location to kind of present that management, which I think is just a great opportunity for us, once again, to just go to a location, not only talk about some of the things that we know about, but also gain some information. Anytime you can go and teach, I think you become you become a learner at the same time. So you're kind of just doing this back and forth thing.
And that's a great example right there of whether you're in the industry, in any industry really, for a year or 10 years, 20 years. There's no reason why you shouldn't be getting training of some sort.
Yeah. Well, at least some sort.
Exactly.
I don't want to go to school. I'm not doing it. I'll learn online if I have to. No school. We have a saying as a coach, and have gone to many coaching classes, both life coaches, management coaches, technical coaches, people that I listen to. You always pick a few things here and there, where there's a will, there's a way, right? And I think that has a lot to say about some of the attributes of some of our best shops, and also some of the shops that want to be the best. Where there's a will, there's a way. They'll find a way to get successful. If they're happy where they're at, fantastic, man. Listen, nobody's gonna balk that. If you're happy, you're happy, and that's how that goes. But one of the things I tell my football team at the beginning of every practice is every day you have an opportunity to get better. And if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And I think that in life is the same way. Like if we're not training and gaining information, when the vehicle comes in, the last thing we want to do is, we don't work on that. Exactly.
Because your competitor does.
Does, right? There's I was talking with a friend of mine over the weekend, and we were chatting back and forth about business, and he has a shop in town, and they're swamped right now, just swamped. And my daughter's car is actually over there, and he says, I can't look at it for another week. I'm like, oh, all right. I thought we were buddies, And he's like, seriously, man, Adamson's closed down, Les Miles closed down. And so here's a small town that has, maybe 8,000 people in it in total. And we're, 14, 15 miles away from the metropolitan area of Ventura.
I was going to say, where?
But up in that community, there's one shop. And that right now, that one shop is just slammed. And, he does great work. He's a good employer. Matter of fact, this morning I called him. I called to leave a message at 6:30, and he was already there. And he's like, "Hello." Of course, he knew it was me, so that was okay. But I think that it's it's good to be busy, and it's good to be busier. But sometimes you have to take some time to get that training to become proficient in what you do, because busy and busier is kind of subjective. If you're busy working on cars but busier fixing comebacks, you're not really doing a good job.
You're right. He's going backwards. You're busy going backwards.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for being here today. This was another good topic that we have. I want to thank you for joining us today on the Transmission Coaching Podcast, powered by ATRA. Until next time, let's keep fixing transmissions together.